Good morning. Thursday, 20, 27, 8? Wait, let me think. I think 28, yeah, probably. Getting close to the end of the month. All right, weather report here is humid, um, overcast, kind of regular story for around here. And we are waiting a few minutes before we get started. In case people get stuck in traffic. Yeah, really. I mean, it's almost like what's the point of waiting 5 minutes? Because you might get here. Yeah, good morning, Deb. I don't know, it's just habit, I guess jumping right in. I feel like it's better to just kind of sit for a couple minutes. And it's nice to get your breathing going. We kind of move from when we are beginning practice. I think it's nice to kind of consciously move from that day-to-day kind of mindset to kind of changing that a little bit. And I think that takes a couple minutes to kind of move out of where you were and into the new space. So just breathing, sitting comfortably. And we can get started. So today we're talking about tapas, which is not just a delicious small plate of Spanish origin. Um, it is in yogic terms and in the Sanskrit word for heat, actually. So, in what they mean it to be in this term is intensity. So, when we are practicing with determination and intention, whatever that practice might be, it could be asana, it could be the poses, it could be any sort of project that you're working on, um, any goal that you've set that you are making progress towards. Um, Tapas is sort of the byproduct of that. And I kind of think of it like, how a snowball, when if you start rolling, and it's hard at first, but once it gets to sort of a certain size, and it will sort of take up the snow itself and get bigger and bigger. Tapas is the same way. You begin, and it's hard because you're trying to generate this um, enthusiasm, right? This intensity in your new project or whatever it is you're beginning. Um, and then the tapas begins to form, right? So your interest is higher in this, and you are spending more time on it. You feel that intensity. And in some ways, it can kind of be a heat. Like you'll feel sort of a heating up of the body. Um, and then that kind of sustains you. It helps you move from where you are to where you want to be. So we could think of tapas as a kind of fuel for our um, transformation, right? Uh, and it could be anything, right? Anything you're doing mindfully with a strong intention and focus. Um, so it's a very useful sort of tool. It's useful to understand that about ourselves. We have the capacity to generate this that will kind of help us move along. Um, so if you were thinking of it in physical and sort of spiritual or mental terms, so asana is a good example of how we can build tapas in a physical sense, physical body. Meditation is something that helps us build tapas from um, the sort of spiritual and mental aspect. And both are good. Both, I mean, it's just the same thing. They're just different ways of doing it. And we want to be careful with tapas, though, because just like how you can overheat the body, you can also I mean, overheat the physical body with activity. You can kind of overheat the entire body with tapas if we go crazy with it. So um, you're not likely to get into that space um, unless you are, unless you have these kind of obsessive tendencies, which some of us do. I shouldn't say that it wouldn't happen, but if you've seen people who over exercise or people that get so deeply into meditation or spiritual practices that they've kind of lost their touch with reality, that's when tapas has kind of taken over and it's kind of running wild. Um, so tapas can feel good. It can feel, um, it can be a little addictive for some people. This positive sort of feedback that you're getting from your activities. Um, but it's for most of us, it isn't. It doesn't go that far because it's hard. It's hard to build tapas. It's hard to maintain that kind of focus and direction. We don't tend to overuse it. But I also think of it as kind of a little reward. So for all of your effort, you have this feeling and this strength that comes from doing all of these things. Tapas is a form of, it's a strength. It's um, a support in the body. Um, and you'll feel that. I mean, if you've ever done something, I mean, if you've ever noticed. So sometimes, and the thing is, I was actually reading about tomorrow's Niyamas. So I want at the end of the Niyamas, I want to kind of talk about how they all fit together. But tomorrow's Niyama is this idea of self-study. And that's something we're doing constantly with all of these practices. So we learn how we work. So is an important thing by itself, but it's twice as important to know how that works for you. Are you motivated by it? Do you reject it? Are you kind of like, I don't know? We all have different feelings about it. For some people, that goal, achieving that goal, and the feelings that they get along the way are primary. Like that's really a huge motivator. For other people, it's almost demotivating. So you got to see how all of these practices and all these things shake out for you. You may take more of one and less of another. Um, they all do work together, and um, in the end, we are the arbiter. We have to be the one that decides how much you want. So it's like a yoga buffet. right? And you can serve yourself a spoonful of this, two spoonfuls of this. I really love this. This works great for me. But this other thing I am allergic to, and I'm gonna barely touch it. I'm gonna know it's there. I might look at it, take care. I'm probably not allergic. You're not gonna be allergic to any of these practices, but you'll know which ones feel like they're gonna be helpful to you. Um, and that's kind of the story of that. So again, always working under that umbrella of ahimsa. And ahimsa, that main thing when you're talking about non-harming is knowing what's right for you, what works for you. And if you find a practice that is destructive, or the way you're practicing it feels destructive, then you want to back off on that. Do try something else. Um, we haven't talked about the limbs of yoga, but we will. Um, and there are sort of 8 limbs of yoga. And I'm not going to get into what they are today, but yoga philosophy tells us any one of those paths can get you where you want to go. You could just stick to that one path and you could get to where you want to go. It was going to move you forward in a way that is positive for you. Um, Asana is one of those. So we could, really focus a lot on asana. Um, and if you are practicing that in a mindful way, in a intentional way, it can get you there. For most people, a broader, you know, a broader table is a better choice. Um, it gives you more options. It allows you not to get sort of burned out in one path or one way. People who focus solely on asana, um, it's just like anything else, right? If you focus solely on asana, um, you're going to, for the most part, you're probably going to miss out on some stuff because it is hard to practice your asana in a very intentional way all the time. The other thing is what happens when you have an injury or you are overusing the body, which is something that can happen um, just in general and especially over time. So the other part of our practice is we always want it to be very sustainable. We want to be able to practice regardless. So if your entire yoga practice is tied up in the physical, in times when that physical is not available to you, you will be adrift. You won't know what to do. So we want a broader package so that we always have more tricks up our sleeve. um, okay, so tapas, build it up. So all this stuff you can read a lot more about. I try to do my best to explain these things, but what I'm saying you may not get it. You may be like, what? I don't really. So, you know, and if that's true, then, and you're interested, do some looking online. Uh, Take a look at the links, find some other links. I mean, you guys all, if you've read some of these things, when you read something online, when it's kind of like, what? That doesn't even make sense. You can tell the difference. And also, if you've done some interacting with some of these things online, some of these companies, you'll know sort of what's a legitimate company and what isn't, and who's going to give you decent information. I mean, Yoga Journal is a solid source of information. Just because it's so big, it's also hugely ad driven and sales oriented. So it, it's not, I wouldn't consider it to be, a really deep source of philosophical information, but it's a very safe, you're not going to get like terrible information from there. You're just going to get a very, very basic, very, an overview, which isn't bad. And again, they're like, the 800-pound gorilla. They're everywhere, and you're going to find a lot of stuff online from them. Okay. So we're going to build some tapas. Working on our asana. So finding your seat. If you haven't already gotten there, if you didn't have to scoot across the floor, then you're probably already in your seat. Take a breath, and then you can let the chin hang down toward the chest. And then lifting the chin, head drops back. Back to center, take a breath. And lowering over to the right. Try to keep the shoulders low. Sometimes we want to lift up, but we don't need to. Back to center and moving to the left. Back to center. Let's walk the hands out. Coming back up, and then fingertips pointing away from the body. Lean back a little, gaze up. Back to your seat. Let's lift the shoulders, roll back. And forward. Right hand on left knee, left arm behind. Sit up tall. And twist. Back to center. Switch sides. And back to center. Tabletop. And let's move through cat-cow for a few sets. Just loosening up inhales and exhales. Getting the spine warmed up. And then back on the heels. Child's pose. Moving back up, we're going to lift the right arm high and then bring it under the left Sitting down on the shoulder or upper arm, whatever you're able to reach to the mat. Moving back up, right arm lifts again. Setting it down. We're going to lift the left and work on the other side. Coming back up, left arm lifts high, and let's sit back again. Child's pose, if you normally have knees together, let's bring them to the edges of the mat. Coming back up. Tabletop to downward dog. Bend the knees. Maybe move around a little. Walk the feet up to the hands. And we're here in a fold. And when you're ready, rising up, standing tall, breath in and out. So finding that focus, maybe setting an intention for the class. Could be something devotional, something goal-oriented. It could just be something as simple as the breath, focusing, trying to keep that inhale and exhale within the mind. Inhale, lift the arms high. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, right foot steps back. Drop your knee, arms overhead. Hands to the mat, moving back. Downward dog. Inhale, high plank. And lower down. Inhale, just lifting up head and chest. And lower, kind of warming up that upper spinal area. Inhale, lift. And lower. Once more, lifting head and chest and lower. And then we're going to start coming back up. Tabletop, downward dog. One more breath. And then step up the right foot. Left knee drops down, arms overhead. Hands down to the mat. Step the back foot up and fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift. Hands by your side. Take a breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, left foot steps back. Drop your knee, arms overhead. Hands down to the mat. Stepping back. Downward dog. Inhale, high plank. Lower down. Inhale, lifting head and chest. Lower. Inhale, lift. And lower. Last one, either head and chest or upward dog. Moving to downward dog. Take one more breath. Left foot steps up. Right knee rests on the mat, arms overhead. And then hands down to the mat. Step the back foot up and fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift high. Back to mountain. Take a breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step back with the right. Drop your knee, arms overhead. Hands to the mat. Moving back. Downward dog. Inhale, high plank. And lower down. Inhale, lifting up head and chest. Then lower. Inhale, lift. And lower. One more. Lifting or upward dog. Moving back into downward dog. Take one more breath. Right foot steps up. Left knee down, arms overhead. Hands down to the mat. Stepping up and fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lifting arms. Back to mountain. Breath in and breath out. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step back with the left. Set your knee down, arms overhead. Hands to the mat. Stepping back. Downward dog. Inhale, high plank. And lower down. Inhale, lift. Head and chest, lower. And again, lifting head and chest. And lower. And then last one, either head and chest or upward dog. Moving to downward dog. Take one more breath here. Then left foot steps up. Right knee to the mat. Arms overhead. And then hands to the mat. Step the back foot up. And fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Lifting on the inhale, arms overhead. And back to mountain. Breath in and breath out. See if that focus has slipped, right? Sometimes our mind is wandering. See if you can bring that back. Bring back that intention, that focus. Moving into some balance. We can start with tree. Standing on the left. Right foot, wherever the right foot goes. The knee rotates out to the side. Nice and upright with the body. Keeping that center balance. If you feel pretty steady, you might extend arms. That's sort of the last stage of this. Everything else really needs to be solid. And some days are going to be better than others with that. Okay? We are using our ability to know what we need for the day, making adjustments. And then bring the foot back to the mat. We're going to switch sides. Starting, so we're standing on the right. Left knee rotates out, nice and tall, upright. Keep that breath moving. Steady gaze. Eye level or higher. Then bring everything back to center. Bicycle the legs. And from mountain, we're just going to lift up the right knee. Foot is flexed, nice and strong. Standing leg and lifted leg, using a lot of strength. Set the foot down, switch. So we've got left knee lifted. And then setting down bicycle legs. And back up to the top. Arms overhead. Let's interlace the fingers. Flip the palms. Lean back a little. Fold forward. Inhale. Lifting to a flat back. On the exhale, we're stepping back. Downward dog. Inhale, moving forward to high plank, and then lowering all the way down. You can turn the head to the right. Arms can be by your side, whatever is comfortable. Remember my little trick. Push forward with the toes. Push the body forward a little bit if you have trouble. Sometimes we have ways to go to get past that chest. I won't say obstacle, but sometimes there is more in the way than others. Moving back. So the head is to center. Let's bring the arms out in front for Sphinx. So we're just resting on the elbows. Palms pressed down. And we're just going to kind of hold here and breathe. Pulling the shoulders back. And lower down. Head turns left. Arms by the side. Relax for a few breaths. And then head back to center. We're going to do half bow. I'm going to cue half bow, but if you want to do full bow, you could. Both hands out in front. We're going to bend the right knee, reach the right arm back, grab a hold of the foot, the ankle, whatever you can reach. If you aren't able to reach, you could just reach back. So wherever you are with this, we're going to be pressing down with the left hand and kind of lifting up the body as much as you can, pressing the foot into the hand, kind of lifting the knee, right? You could be way down here. You don't have to be up high. It just depends how flexible you're feeling today. And then gently release it. And we're going to switch. So right arm stays out, left arm comes back, catch a hold of the foot. And again, pressing down, lifting up if you like. And then setting everything back down. We're going to cross one forearm over the other, set the head down, and relax. Toes in, heels out, or heels out, toes in. Take your pick. And we're going to start moving back up. Tabletop child's pose. Tabletop downward dog. And then coming down to a seat on the mat. Soles of the feet together. Sitting up tall, we'll take a breath and lean forward. Think about that hinging from the hip. So we're keeping nice, flat back. Coming back up, both legs out in front. Inhale, deep breath in, and fold forward. Moving back up. Let's bend the knees. We're just going to hug the knees into the chest, sitting up tall. And then making sure that you have enough space to lower down. We'll come down onto your back. You also could rock back. Whatever works for you. And if you have to move around a little to get in the right place, that's all right. So let's just rest here for a couple of breaths. Knees together, feet onto the edges of the mat. And then we're going to bring right ankle on top of left knee. You can stay right here, or you can bring that left thigh in toward the chest. You could extend if you want. If you do extend the leg, make sure that this foot doesn't slip up on top of the knee, right? We never want to have anything pressing against that knee joint. And then set it down. We're going to keep that right foot on the knee, arms to a T or goalpost arms, and then lowering the left knee down to the side. The right foot is going along for a ride. You might get all the way down to the floor, maybe not. That's okay. Just taking a twist. Back to center and switch. Same thing, just kind of hugging it in or extending the leg. And then bend the knee, set that foot down, and we're going to start lowering. Right knee out to the side. Breathe. And then back to center. Set the foot down. So, tapas is what keeps you getting ready for bridge pose. Even though there's no one watching you, if you skip bridge, who's going to know? Just yourself, right? So we build that tapas to keep us focused. Okay? Walk the feet back, hands by your side, feet are about hip width apart, press down, hands and feet, lifting up. Interlace the fingers if you want. Breathe. And then we're lowering down. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. Rest your hands and your arms wherever you want on the mat. then from here, let's move into Shavasana. So you could stay the way you are. You could just extend the legs, do whatever you want to get into that restful place on the mat. Keep that breathing going, steady, sense of peace and calm moving through the body. So, doing yoga online like this is a great example of tapas, right? So tapas literally means fire, but for our purposes, it might mean something like self-discipline. You have to be pretty self-disciplined to bring yourself to the mat, especially when there's nobody else paying attention to whether you're here or not, right? There's no sign-in sheet. You didn't walk into a classroom where other people are going to notice if you're here or not. I mean, I do see people sign in here. So I know some people here, but again, I don't know what you're doing, if you're doing something or not. It doesn't matter, right? And so this to me is kind of the ultimate form of yoga, right? It is completely self-directed, completely self-motivated. We are relying on our tapas to keep us in practice. And as you know, we've noticed, I'm sure, over time, that ability to self-discipline, it builds. That's the tapas. Right? So when you first start doing something, trying to stick to a new plan or doing this certain thing, it's hard at first, right? We're always forgetting, we're falling off, we're losing our motivation. But as time goes by and we have some success with whatever it is we're working on, that builds our enthusiasm and our tapas, right? Our intensity to do this. So when it comes to this, I mean, it's beautiful in a way because um, we think of ourselves as so other directed. There's so much in our life that is directed towards other people, prescripted by other people. They tell us what we have to do, where we have to go, what job we have to do. I mean, all of these things we're interacting with other people. When we have to interact with simply ourselves and use this strength of self-discipline, we learn a lot, right? Are we cheating ourselves constantly? Do we think other people's directions and goals are more important than ours? Right? We'll do something that someone else asks us to do, but we won't stick to the things that we know we need for our own self to be healthy and happy. It's an interesting dilemma, but it's one that we can make easier by building some tapas. And tapas is sort of, it's one size fits all. If you have success in one area of your life, building some tapas, you can use that tapas for another area. You can borrow that enthusiasm, that success, to kind of hype yourself up for this next thing that maybe is harder. The caution I would have for you is to be kind, right? Ahimsa. Be kind to yourself. Don't take on too much. Right? That is a classic problem that we get super enthusiastic, try to make 12 different changes, and instead we can't do any. So pick one thing, have a little success with that. It will spur you on to the next. Keep going. If you fail, if you slip up, move on. We need to be kind and know that we aren't always going to follow the path. Sometimes we're just not going to feel like it, and that's true too, right? So if you have a yoga practice, so I mean, I'm using yoga as an example. It could be anything, but yoga because that's something I know we're all doing to some extent. If you have a day where you don't want to do yoga, it's important to know, like, what is that about? Maybe you just are tired of it. Maybe you've had enough and you need a day off. That is perfectly okay. Maybe you aren't feeling well and you've been pushing yourself to do it even though you're feeling a little under the weather, and your body is finally like, nope, we're done. You need to stay in bed. Don't do this. That's okay too. Tapas doesn't mean driving yourself like, cattle or something. It means knowing the difference between feeling lazy and needing a break. Those are two different things. And if we are paying attention and we allow ourselves the kindness to feel those things, we'll be able to tell. And my experience with yoga and learning about my body is that my body is more honest with me. The more honest and the more I listen to it. So just like, I guess, when you deal with your kids, maybe, and if your kids don't think you're listening to them, they aren't going to tell you. They're going to tell you whatever they think you want to hear. Your body's kind of the same way. If you're not listening, your body's going to be like, I'm just going to, nope, nope, nope. I'm going to need to stay in bed. I'm not going to, you will have more bad days than good. Because your body's trying to protect you. It's trying to take care. It knows you're going to do whatever you want regardless. And the body is like, wow, this is not good. It's like a runaway train here. If you can give yourself a break, listen, you'll hear and you'll be able to tell the difference. Okay, today, I need a mental health day. I'm not going to do it. But today, physically, yeah, I've got a problem. My knee's hurting. I'm not going to push it. And other days where you're like, yeah, you had a day off yesterday. Now it's time. Get going. Start moving. So be kind. Don't overexert yourself. Don't underexert yourself too much. But know what you need. And don't be afraid to take that time for yourself. This is a marathon, right? This is not a sprint. We aren't looking to, get a beach body in 2 weeks or whatever. I mean, this isn't it's not a quick fix. It's a permanent fix. So moving now, fingers and toes, hands and feet. and making your way up to a seat. Let's bring hands together. Deep breath in and out. Thank you for taking some time this morning for yoga, for sharing it with me here. I hope you have a really great rest of the day. Namaste. Thank you all for coming to class. When I was doing the bells in Shavasana, I was hearing the bells in the church. I'm about block and a half from a church that the bells go on the hour, but not really. Like I don't know what hour they're on because it's usually like 5 minutes before. But in this case, it was a bit later, so I never really know. I don't know what's going on with it, but I have to go back and listen to the tape because I've heard it before and I've wondered um, if you can hear it on the tape or not. I don't know. Thank you guys for coming. And here, look, Deb is here, and Gwen, and Barbara, Sue, and Kathleen, and anyone else who's here who isn't signing in or can't sign in or is just being here quietly. Everyone is welcome. All right, so have a great day. Think about tapas, building some heat in the body. Get something accomplished today. I don't care what, just something that's been bothering you. Pick one thing. I do that sometimes when I'm feeling like too many things to do. Pick one thing. What's bugging you the most, right? What is like, what can't you get out of your head? Or, what do you keep tripping over when you walk through the room? Or, take 5 minutes, get it done. That's it. Thank you, Dora. All right. And I'll be back tomorrow.